Good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon. I know he's still kind of shaking off some of the lunch and extra workshop. So my name is Adrienne Nicole. I am first the CEO of Adrienne Nicole Productions, which is a video production and photography firm that is patient-led. And so our passion is telling patient stories. Also a lupus patient advocate. I was diagnosed in 2009 and have made it my mission to work with other patients and either to spread awareness or encouragement and information. And this is what I would think would be one of the most important sessions for today, since all of the work that everyone in this room is doing is for patients. So I want to welcome Lucy and Mike Carroll. How are you two today?
We're good, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Wonderful, wonderful. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules and all the responsibilities that you have to take care of on a daily basis. So let's start by getting to know you both. Tell us a bit about who you are as people, caretakers, and advocates.
So I'm Michael Carroll. I'm father of Ollie and Amelia, who have both got CNL2 Batten's disease.
And I'm Lucy Carroll, and obviously I'm their mum. And we've also got 3 other children who haven't got CNL2 Batten's disease. So we've got 2 older boys, and then we've also got a 4-year-old.
Wonderful. Do you mind if we can turn them up a little bit? Just so we can hear them a little bit better in the room. All right, so tell us a bit about Batten's disease and your children, Ollie and Amelia.
So, so as we said, both Ollie and Amelia have got CNL2 Batten's disease, and Batten's disease is a neurodegenerative brain disorder where the children lack the enzyme that gets rid of all the protein buildup, all the rubbish within the brain, and it kills off the cells. Normally children with Batten's disease without treatment would suffer from seizures, unable to swallow, loss of eyesight, unable to walk. They become wheelchair dependent 24 hours a day, and they'll need care 24 hours a day as well. And the age expectancy was between 6 and 12 years of age. As we'll go on in this, there is a treatment now, and children are living a bit longer at the moment.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that both Ollie and Amelia were born what we thought seemingly healthy. So we had absolutely no idea about Batten's disease. We've never heard about it before until Ollie started to become poorly, which was around 3.5. He actually got poorly, but he had a bit of a speech delay at the age of 2. But obviously that's quite common in children, so nothing was picked up until the seizure started at 3.5. But at this point, he was running around like a normal, healthy child.
What was it like to see that progression or regression?
Absolutely heartbreaking. As Lucy just said, Ollie could ride a bike. He was going to swimming lessons. He was joining in with his peers at school, preschool, just doing what a normal 3-year-old would do, really. And he had a great character. The same with Amelia. She was going dancing and different activities. And to see them, especially with Ollie, because it happened so quick, to see him not being able to walk, not being able to eat, it was just absolutely heartbreaking. And to be able not to be able to help as a parent, it just destroys you.
And it was the fact that Ollie was able to know that something was happening to him as well. So because he was a normal, healthy child, he knew that he was losing these abilities, but obviously didn't know why. So it was like the frustration and anger and upset was also with him, because he was a 4-year-old that could want to run around and climb and, like Mike said, ride his bike, his scooter, and then he just suddenly couldn't do that anymore. And he lost his abilities over a few months, really. Yeah. So it was quick.
All right, so Ollie and Amelia received expanded access, or in the UK called compassionate use treatment. Tell us about the process and how you managed that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, our situation is quite unique, really, compared to other families that I know of in the UK, because when Ollie and Amelia got diagnosed, we were told there was no treatment whatsoever. So we had a fight on our hands then to find a treatment. The doctor did tell us that there was no treatment at all, which wasn't necessarily true. There was a trial for the enzyme replacement therapy. So we contacted Professor Paul Gisson at Great Ormond Street in London, and he unfortunately told us that all the places had gone. There was 5 places and they'd all been taken. At that time, we were absolutely devastated. It was a very emotional time because it was still raw, the diagnosis. So it took us a little bit of time to process it, didn't it, really?
Yeah.
And then we started our fight then to try and get the kids onto this treatment, the enzyme replacement therapy.
Yeah, and that was basically had to approach the pharmaceutical company directly because we knew that the trial had closed applicants, so there was no spaces left. So we went to the pharmaceutical company directly and asked them if they could grant treatment for Ollie and Amelia on the grounds of compassionate use.
And this was a particularly tough time. Sorry, we're on a little bit.
No, go ahead.
It was a very difficult time because obviously we had the diagnosis, so we were emotionally a wreck, really. And then, as Lou said, we had to go and basically beg for the compassionate use. We had to go over to Paris for this, so we had to leave the children, which we didn't want to do, and go over there. So yeah, it was not an easy time at all, was it?
No, and I think it was just that we didn't know that. So it's all like we were learning whilst we were doing it. So now we know that compassionate use is an actual thing, whereas we were just thinking, well, why can't our children get it? Let's just ask whether they will grant it on compassionate use. So that's what we did. We contacted, with the help and support from BDFA, which is the Batten Disease Family Association, which is a charity that support families with children with Batten disease. With their support, we went and over to Paris, like Mike said, and we met with the drugs company directly, and we literally just sat and begged, didn't we, basically? And we said, if you don't give this to our children, then they will die. Like, we know what's going to happen. So it was an extremely emotional time.
Lucky to have you two as parents. I mean, you really went to bat for them. So it's a really great resilience in a very resilient family. So Ollie was the first boy in the UK to get access, and Amelia was the first human to have it administered in her eye. What did it mean, not for one, but for both of your children to get this treatment?
I think at the time we were just consumed by so many emotions. I think we were just praying, weren't we, that it would work and it would slow down the progression of the disease, which now we know that it does. And it's a bit of a mix, really, because we just wish that they'd got it sooner. So we're obviously so grateful that they're on this treatment, but we know that now it works better when children are younger. So Amelia got it at a younger age to Ollie, which is why she's doing so much better. And it's just that I think we feel that sadness to know that Ollie probably got it a little bit too late, but then we're just so grateful that he has got it and he's still here with us.
Yeah, all I'd add to that is that we were desperate. It was a desperate time. We were desperate as parents to get the treatment. As we were seeing the children, especially Ollie, because he was a bit older than Amelia, regress at the speed he was. Yeah, we knew there was a treatment there. We knew it was working because we were in contact with people on the trial. And we were so desperate to get them on it as quick as possible. But that process of getting them on it was quite slow, if I'm honest.
I think it took us 16 months
Yeah.
from asking to actually getting them, you know, up and running onto the enzyme therapy. It took about 16 months. So when we asked, Ollie was still on his feet running, and when he started treatment, he could sit up, but he wasn't walking, and he'd lost most of his words, and he had a feeding tube put in whilst we were waiting to get onto treatment. So he lost a lot of skills while we were waiting.
Was he able to get some of them back after the treatment?
No. So the treatment slows down the progression of the disease. So basically what happens is children and they're lacking the enzyme in the brain that gets rid of the rubbish. So basically the rubbish accumulates into the brain and damages the cells and kills them. So that can never be repaired. So once you've lost the skill, you'll never regain that skill, which is why it's so important that children get this treatment as soon as they're diagnosed, so that those skills aren't lost, which is what we've seen in Amelia. She was only 3 when she got the treatment. So she's kept her skills for a much longer period of time, but unfortunately it isn't a cure. It does just slow down the progression of the disease, but there's a massive difference. We're in a very we can compare, I suppose, between the children, because we've got one child who got it late, and then we've got another child who got it relatively early. So we can see the difference that it makes.
Seeing both children receive different benefits from it.
Sorry, we missed the start of that question. It didn't come through, sorry.
Worries. I was just saying, so what do you do with those feelings? You know, Amelia it's benefiting her a bit more than Ollie. So just want to know what you as caretakers and as parents, what do you do with those feelings?
I'd say we push it on to make us fight even harder for the children, to be honest. As we've spoke before, me and Lucy, there's no point in burying your head in the sand. You've just got to keep on going for the kids the best we can.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at quality of life, I guess, in a different way. So I think that most people probably view quality of life as, you know, running around, going out, attending school, things like that. Whereas for us, it's quality of life comes from the small things, you know, the smiles and what you get back off a child. So Ollie might not be able to talk anymore, but he communicates in his own way, and his character is still there. Like, he was quite stubborn, and he was funny, wasn't he? He was like growing up, and that's still in there. Like, he'll still roll his eyes at us. He can communicate when he likes things and he doesn't like things. And it's that learning that, yeah, okay, he's very different now. He's in a wheelchair. He can't talk, he can't walk, and he isn't doing the same things, but he can still do a lot of things. We're very, very lucky. Like, last year we were able to take him abroad, which was just amazing. And he loved the sunshine and he thrived in it. And yeah, I guess it's the little things, isn't it? Like the squeeze of the hand, And then you've got Amelia, who is, you know, she's completely different. She's still able to attend school. She's still got a lot of her speech. Her understanding's amazing. But for us, because we've seen the difference, I think that gives us the fight, and that's what keeps us going to try and help other families so that their children can get the treatment a lot earlier, and they, I suppose, they can keep their skills a lot more than Ollie did.
You have 3 other children. How is this affecting the family as a whole?
Yeah, obviously, not gonna lie, it has affected them. Our little girl she's only just turned 4, so she doesn't really truly understand it, and she's grown up with Ollie and Amelia how they are now, so she's never known any different. Our 2 older boys, yeah, it has affected them because they have also seen their brother and sister decline, and obviously we've had to spend a lot of time with Ollie and Amelia, so it's taken time away from them. We've tried to do as much as we can with them, holidays and different experiences, but obviously it's not normal. But they do cope with it very well, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and there's a lot of negatives, but again, there's a lot of positives in the sense of how it's created them as human beings and the compassion that they show to others. So a lot of people comment on our 4-year-old, especially, like how good she is with Ollie, and she will automatically get hold of Ollie's hands and get him to do things. So he's just celebrated his birthday, and she got hold of his hands to open his presents with him. Now, we've never told her to do that. She's just picked that up herself, and then just it's very difficult, I think, for our older children, because they are in the same position as us. You know, they're watching their siblings deteriorate and they can't do anything about it. So yeah, it's hard. It is.
Yeah, it definitely goes without saying. Well, speaking of it being hard, how about you tell us about some of the happiest moments that you've had with both of them and the rest of your children? You mentioned a trip recently, you know, maybe you want to talk about that, but any moment, anything that's considered big or small, some happy times.
Yeah, so we went to Fuerteventura, which is kind of like an island off Spain, in the summer, and that was it was just lovely to spend time together as a family, away from medical appointments. We could just turn our phones off and be together, and Ollie absolutely loves the sunshine. Like he absolutely thrives in it. He always has done, and for some reason the sun seems to make him and Amelia a lot stronger as well. So we had a great time there. But then Amelia she has always loved gymnastics, and she's just competed in some competitions where she actually came first, which we never envisioned that she would be able to carry on with the activities that she loves. But because of this treatment, you know, things do have to be adapted for her, but she's still able to continue to do these things that she really enjoys, and she mixes with children her age who are, I don't like to use the word normal, but the healthy children, and she absolutely loves it, and they love her. And it's just, I think it's nice for her to mix with children, and for them to see as well that not everybody's the same, but you know, we should include everybody, no matter like what their disability is.
To hear. So what is your support system? Oh, did you want to say something else, Mike?
No, I'll just add that because of the treatment, Amelia was still on her feet at this point, that we renewed our wedding vows, and I was able to walk Amelia down the aisle, which was something that I'll never get to do in her later years. But I got to do it as a parent, as a dad, which was very, very special. But that was because of the treatment, that she could still walk.
That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. You've been making me jump a question. So I wanted to follow up with that then is, how are you two taking care of yourselves as caretakers? I mean, that's a beautiful a story. What else are you two doing? You're still parents, you're still husband and wife. You know, what do you do for you?
Not a great deal, if I'm honest. We are full-time carers for the kids, morning, day and night, throughout the night. We don't have any carers in the house for the children. We just do it ourselves. Yes, it does take its toll on us. We are tired. You know, I'm having a knee operation tomorrow, and it's partly from the wear and tear of looking after poorly children, really. But we still do get to do stuff, don't we, together?
Yeah, now and then.
Now and then.
You know, just hold hands in the room. That's time.
Yeah.
That's still something, right? So what does your support system look like? I know you don't have caretakers in the home, but who are the people who surround you? What organizations even have helped out?
Yeah, so we're very lucky, really, that we've got some amazing friends and family. So we've got my parents, which help out, and Mike's mum and dad are really good as well. And then, yeah, we've just got such wonderful friends that help us, but we don't have many people to actually do the care side. But I think just being able to speak to people like on the phone, you know, about how you're feeling, or just general chat about life, and it doesn't have to be anything to do with the disease, is kind of like what we need, isn't it? So like when we say we don't do anything, like it's hard for us to go out together, but like we do make the time, don't we, to go out separately and get a little bit of a break with our friends.
But we do live in a very nice small community, which has helped us massively with fundraising for different things, for wheelchairs, etc. And obviously the eye treatment for Amelia. We had some wonderful people help fundraise for that. So we're very lucky in that respect.
Wonderful. And I hear that while you two have a lot going on, you still make the time to help other people and other parents with Batten's disease. Tell us how you do that.
So originally we set up Ollie's Army, which is on like Facebook and Instagram. And then we decided to set up like an official charity. So it's called the Ollie and Amelia Carroll Foundation. And we're basically, our aim is to raise funds to help other parents. So whether that be trying to fundraise for research and treatments, our aim really is to one day it's Mike's little dream, really, isn't it, to get somewhere that we can like buy a place, like a holiday place, so we can send parents so that they can have that time to make memories with the children, because it's just so important, and it's something that we know that one day that's all we'll have left is the memories. But it's not just us. We feel it's really important that there should be a place where families can go as a whole, so with the siblings but also with the extended family, because there's amazing charities out there that will send families on like wish trips and things, but we feel like if you've got extended family, they're missing out on that. So like the grandparents or your aunties and uncles. So we want to be able to provide somewhere that extended family and maybe like really, really close friends can all go and you can all be there and make those memories. So that's what our long-term goal is, I suppose.
All right. So what, since you two are not, don't have any assistants in-house, I don't know if there are other parents or caretakers who are dealing with the same thing. What do you want people in the room to know about what it's like to be taking care of your children and how they can maybe in some way support if there's, if you're a physician or so, how could they do that?
I'll answer that.
That is a good question. That's a hard one to answer, I suppose.
Yeah. I think it's a difficult one to answer. There's a lot of parents in the UK that have chosen to have carers in. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just something we chose not to. And I think with COVID as well, sort of swayed us a little bit to not have any carers as well at the time. It's one of the most rewarding jobs, being able to look after your children that need you. But as I said before, it's obviously one of the most tiring jobs as well, physically and mentally. We are lucky that Amelia does still go to school. She goes to a special school, so we do get a little bit of respite there. But Ollie is with us 24/7 really. As for,
I think, I mean, personally, I feel that practitioners should be understanding to those parents that do want to care for their children, because we often come across a lot of professionals will question why we want to do that, and we'll say, well, why don't you want help, and try and pressure us into having that help. So it's having the understanding that not everybody's the same. They are our children, and if they weren't poorly, no one would come in and help us. And it's hard raising children is hard anyway. So I suppose it's just understanding and being there to provide the support that we may need in different ways, whether that's just listening to our views and us talking and sharing how we're feeling, or providing us with equipment and support in other ways. So like respite, maybe if parents want to access that, or I just think.
Yeah, I think the way our government works here is that they would pay for carers to come into our house and look after our children, so we can go and work or whatever. So we've chose not to work. We've chose to look after our children, and us personally, we've asked the question, why can't they pay for a cleaner or something like that to clean our house while we do look after our children, which would be a lot cheaper than getting carers in. But obviously that's never going to happen. But these things would help us as a family. It gives more time with our children.
And we are just the last question. What do you want the audience to know about rare disease and expanded access from your POV, your point of view?
I think one thing that I would say, this is just from our experience, and I know hindsight is a brilliant thing, is that if your child or someone that gets diagnosed with a rare disease, find out everything you need to know of every charity, every trial that's going on. You find out everything and contact every single drug company and push and push and push and push and push. On hindsight, that's what we wish we did. We should have done that from day one. When we were told that there was no treatment, if we could turn back time, I would have got Ollie on that trial, 100%. When Paul Gisson said there is no spaces, we would have pushed that much that they would have got him on. So that would be how I would finish this. And my advice to anyone is push and push and push and research as much as you can. And for drugs companies and governments, just be generous, please.
And I think to practitioners, we were told generally, because it's what they believed at the time, that there was no treatment, no cure. We weren't told that there was a trial going on because we believe that they generally didn't know. So I think it's not just parents that need to do the research, but it's the practitioners as well, that if you've got a child in your care, then you need to, it's your duty of care is to go away and help that family and find out as much as you possibly can, even if that does mean that you come back and you say you found nothing. I think from a family's point of view, it's just having that support and building the trust up. Like, we have got an amazing relationship now with so many professionals because they put the time and effort into believing into our children. But yeah, like hindsight, but I do like totally agree with Mike. You learn as you go, and now you kind of look back and you think, could I have done more? Could I have got my child onto the original trial, which obviously would have been 16 months earlier, and meant that he, Ollie would have kept his skills for longer, and that would have obviously had a different effect on his life.
Thank you. I'm going to open up the room to questions. If anyone has any questions for Lucy or Mike, feel free to walk up to the standing microphones at the end of the aisle. Here comes someone.
With Lexion, which is now AstraZeneca's rare disease unit. I'm just curious, once you were finally connected with the company or companies that offered you any kind of information, was there anything in particular that those companies could have done to make the process more clear or transparent for you in any way?
I think the drugs company itself, probably not. They were very helpful, to be honest. I think it was more our country's policies and everything that they have, all the boxes they have to tick, that really slowed everything down. There was other countries that started the compassionate use a hell of a lot quicker than us. So the drugs company were quite on board with it, weren't they?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of emailing backwards and forwards. And like Mike said, they had to go through their process. Once we got physically face to face with them, things seemed to happen a lot quicker. So I think maybe that could have happened sooner, maybe. I don't know whether it would have made any difference. Maybe it would have to us as a family to know physically that things were moving forwards. But like Mike said, the drugs company were really, really good. And from us asking for compassionate use for Ollie and Amelia, it opened up more places for other children. And like Mike said, they opened up other compassionate centres, compassionate use centres at the trial centres across the world. And yeah, they were open before we were, but that was the red tape, I suppose, in our country.
Here comes another.
Thank you for sharing your story with us today. I'm Tim Kripe. I'm an academic physician scientist in an unrelated field, but I guess the question I have is, what about your children's conditions excluded them from the trial? And you may have said that, but as a follow-up to that is, did you have any, usually inclusion exclusion criteria are there for a reason. Those patients who aren't eligible for trials are usually thought to be higher risk, for example. And did you have any concerns about using expanded access that they might have been at higher risk for side effects?
Not so much, because the before our children had started on the compassionate use, the trial was already ongoing, and we were in contact on social media with all different parents from all around the world. So we knew quite a bit about it anyway. There was a worry at one time that when we were trying to get the children on, they said Ollie can go on, and then they said Amelia's too well to go on, which was a hell of a knockback for us at the time. And then I say fortunately, or I don't really know how to put it because it sounds horrible, but a child couldn't get on, which meant Amelia could get on. The child was too poorly, so it freed up a space.
I think it's important to know as well the trial, why they couldn't get on the original trial is because it was closed to applicants. So it wasn't that they didn't meet the criteria, they had just filled the places and they weren't taking any more children. So we knew that they would have met the criteria. Now, the criteria between the trial and the compassionate use, they did decide to change. And that's where there was this of and in whether Amelia could get on or not, which now we know the evidence that we've got, it's completely bizarre because it's the children who are well that benefit from it more. But obviously at that time, they wanted to get the sicker children on to the treatment. So,
and there was children that were on the trial that started probably at around the same stage as Amelia, and we knew that they had no adverse side effects, which did help us obviously in that decision. If we didn't know that, we may have thought different. I don't know.
I think as well it's very different when you're told if you don't do anything, your child will die, and this is your only option. Like, this was our only chance, our only hope was to get our children onto this. So you do kind of obviously have to weigh up the risks, and we were obviously explained all the risks, but it's that, well, you've got to try. If you don't do anything, then you know what's going to happen. So like Mike says, we were very lucky that, you know, the trial had been running for a number of years. So we it had gone through that safety aspect and children were doing well. I hope that answers your question.
From our virtual audience member who asks, could you share what specifically was the process for contacting the drug company?
Yeah, so I guess we kind of just thought as parents, why can't we just ask for compassionate use? As we said earlier, we didn't realize at the time it was an actual thing. We just wanted to ask that question. So we suggested it to the CEO at the Baton's Disease Family Association, and in links with her, we contacted the drugs company literally directly. We just sent an email, and that's what got the ball rolling. It sounds simple, but it didn't feel simple at the time at all, because it was trying to find that right person to get to. And the drug company is obviously, it's an American-based drug company, so it was trying to find that right person to get the email to. And I think we were probably very lucky that we managed to get it to the right person that actually listened.
Any other questions? One more.
Hi, Lucy and Mike. I have a question about sort of your platform. I know you have a following and, you know, do speaking events like this one. And I'm just curious about the different advantages that your platform has allowed for you in this space and in your sort of odyssey of, you know, dealing with the situation that you found yourselves in with two children with Batten disease. Could you just speak to some of the advantages that you think, you know, you've had because of your platform and because of the exposure that you've had?
Yeah, of course.
So it's been, Ollie's Army was set up, and I'll be honest, Lucy takes the reins of most of that, if I'm honest. She does all the updates and everything on there. But it's helped us. What it was set up for is ideally to create awareness of the rare disease, which I think, you know, we're doing reasonably well at the moment, because we've had families contact us, newly diagnosed families contact us. We've had people who haven't been diagnosed and thought that their children may have it, and they've got a diagnosis before. So in that way, the awareness has worked. It's also worked with us trying to fundraise for treatments, like I mentioned before with the eyesight treatment. I think without our platform, we wouldn't have raised the money that we raised to go towards the eye treatment. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think we were really lucky, really, because there's quite a lot of families with like Facebook, social media pages, and we were very lucky to be able to build our following purely because of Ollie, wasn't it? So Ollie won the Most Inspirational Child Award for the Well Children, which is Prince Harry is the patron of. So we went to pick up his award, and at the time Ollie had lost his ability to stand and walk, and when he met Prince Harry, he stood up and he gave Prince Harry a cuddle out of the blue, and that got caught by the press. And it was from then really that we were able to, like, it was all Ollie. You know, he got buttons across every single newspaper in the world. Like, we didn't think much of it at the time, apart from that we were like amazed that he'd stood up. But that got the awareness, and it was from then that we thought, well, if something that simple can create the awareness, that's what we need, and that's what we kept pushing, I suppose. And it's, what am I trying to say? It's getting, I suppose, just using what we can to get the awareness out there. Like what Mike said, that has helped families get the diagnosis that they need, and now families get a diagnosis and they get a treatment straight away. And if we can help anybody, that's all we want. Nobody to be in the position where we were, where we didn't have a treatment, we didn't know what was wrong with our child. Just being able to speak to another family that's going through what we are, and not being, you know, not feeling alone. And then we've also been asked to speak at like things like this, and we just hope that, you know, by sharing our journey and our story, that it is helping other people in some way.
So I think that will conclude our chat. We have a minute and a half left. Great. So this is perfect timing. Thank you so much, Lucy and Mike. Thank you so much for your time. I know you don't have much of it, so we really appreciate you, and we appreciate you sharing your story with all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.